in this video, we're going to be talking about off-season focus of strength. Get your lift on, people. That's what we're talking about. I like to bring this up for an off-season topic because now's the time when you're doing lower volume. You could be doing intense workouts, but not doing them day after day after day. So especially with the lower volume, especially with running, there's less recovery involved. So now's the time to really get in there and do some very specific weightlifting movements that will cause you probably a little bit of muscle soreness and require a little bit of recovery for it, but you're not adding it on to this large volume of training that you're doing in swim, bike, and run. Now, there's strength training that I like to see done during race preparation training. And then I think I talk about a little bit, tapering off when you get into the taper of your race or whatever. But especially in off season, man, if you come from, personally, I had a background, I played football in high school. I really grew up, that's kind of the first kind of foray into fitness is doing weightlifting. And my friends and I really got into it, like doing it on off season, during the season, kind of tapered off. But summer program, we loved going in there and just pushing weights and seeing gains as far as how much weight you could lift and stuff like that. So that's really off seasons where I kind of like to go back to what I call my roots and going out there and doing the very just grunt work, strength type of stuff, if that's what you're into. It's also an opportunity to get in there, your CrossFit stuff, the stuff that really gets you going, works you hard, leaves you drained at the end, and you need a day or two to recover. The off season's now the time to do that, to kind of build up your strength, build up some other things so you can get ready for the whole season. So we'll go over kind of the points that I came up with for strength training. You need some, kind of hit on that. It complements every area of swim, bike, and run. And over time, as we mature, we lose a little bit of muscle tone anyway. So getting in that strength training kind of helps stave off that decline of muscle build and just the whole, your muscle fibers, like I said, they just kind of want to deteriorate over time if you don't do anything with them. So it's kind of a use it or lose it type of situation. So you definitely need some. The quick core is perfect for after swim, bike, and run. So this is where you're getting into doing it, mixing it in with your program. And kind of how I dice it up is there's more mobility and functional strength training that's maybe body weight type of stuff and very low weight. But if you're doing a quick core, it's always a good time to slip it in right in after, basically you could do core work after any type of workout. Long run, bike rides, intense runs, intense bike rides, whatever. Maybe if you're a little bit depleted on the hydration and if you're feeling kind of crampy or something like that, it's not the best time. But you can do core anytime. You can bust out 10, 15 minutes of some good core work, get a real good burn going on in the middle section because we all need a good core for all the swim, biking, running. But basically, you can slide that in at any time, and that's, you could even do that. I would maybe lay off the 2 weeks before a big race or something like that. But I mean, you could do that throughout your entire training regimen. Find a good core routine that you want to do and just throw it in there whenever you feel like it. What we're talking about more for the heavier, more intense lifts, especially in the off-season program that I built for my athletes and what I recommend for people, is you want to do heavier lifts. You don't want to do them before swim, bike, and run because then you've already taxed your muscles. So if you go to an intense run, threshold run, or you're doing power sets on the bike or something like that, it's kind of giving you more opportunity. You've already broken down the muscles during the strength training with the weights. So if you go in there and do a swim, bike, or run, there's opportunity to kind of do more damage and do damage that's not the good kind of damage you're looking for after a workout. So after rest and recovery, it promotes adaptations. So if you go, you do your strength training, and then you go do an intense run, you've potentially caused some damage that you actually need more recovery from than if you stayed with your regular program. Do the next workout, you actually are running on muscles that aren't fully healed and repaired from the damage you did during your other workouts, and it could lead to injuries. So I tell people, do your swim, bike, and runs, and then go do the rest of the weightlifting. As always, it's the same idea. Hurt or something like that, don't do it. Don't cause permanent injuries. But personally, what I like to see for myself and my athletes is doing the more heavier lifts, controlled lifts, and that type of thing. So you're doing it's more of the pure pushing weights, bench press, squats, that type of thing, pull downs. I like to see my athletes do that after their swim, bike, and run workouts. So what I also recommend is matching what section of the body you're working out with what workout you're doing for swim, bike, and run. So if you're doing a bike or you're doing a run, maybe mix it with an upper body day. So then you're working different muscles. You're still doing, strength training, and you're still going to feel a little bit, but you're not using the muscles that you just use for your workout, and save lower body for swim days. So it's a good alternate. You could do 2 days, because everybody's already kind of crunched for time anyway. But if the opportunity comes up, do a morning workout or a lunch workout, a PM workout, so you get hit the upper body, and then you could still, and this gives you opportunity, if you do upper body, then later you can do a more intense run or bike later, or intense bike run in the morning, and then upper body work, heavy lift, bench press, pull downs, lat stuff, all kinds of other stuff. So this gives you an opportunity to kind of mix it up a little bit, so you hit different areas of the body on that day. But I do like to tell people, keep in mind, what I recommend is 2 to 3 days of intense work. And if you're doing heavy lifts, you're doing CrossFit type of stuff, that is intense. You're getting your heart rate up, you're using your muscles, you're doing high impact stuff. So don't do intense bike, heavy lift, intense run, heavy lift, CrossFit workout. So you need a day where you're doing like a nice zone 2 bike ride, or maybe you're doing some core work. So make sure, and I work this into my plans for my athletes and myself, and any plan that I built and structure for the off season. So make sure you're matching it, and make sure you're being smart about how many times you're doing heavy lifts and that type of work. Like I said, I'd like to see heavy stuff early in the preseason or in the off season. So you're not doing lifts and movements that require large amounts of time for recovery, because you're going to need to do some zone 2 stuff right the day after, and then do some recovery. And maybe if you did a leg lift, and you do a intense swim on Friday. So you got to build in some time for that recovery, or else you're not going to get adaptations. You're going to get injuries out of it. So I like to see people lifting heavier near their part of their seasons, because you're not doing as much volume. Like I said, you don't have that impact from a long run to where you need a couple days of recovery to do any leg work or anything. For race prep, I switch over more into functional mobility for race prep. So you're doing more body weight stuff, you're doing more stabilizer muscles, you're doing just functional strength to get the core working, to get everything working, that you're not just doing brute force movements and that type of thing. So it's it could be like box jumps, it could be just jumping lunges, it could be things like that. It's just body weight, but you do enough of them, it's going to wear you out. It's not like an easier type of workout necessarily. But I do recommend, when you're running into taper, especially full Ironman, almost 3 weeks out, I would kind of cut off the strength training. Even the mobility, do some flexibility, but mobility, functional strength, heavy lifting, I kind of cut it out 3 weeks before an event, because I don't want any more damage done to the muscles from that weightlifting you need to recover from. So that taper time is the time you should be refreshing yourself from recovery and being ready for the race. So taper off of weightlifting for the taper is what I tell my athletes and what I do in my plans. What I'm looking for is about 2 times a week minimum. So 2 days a week, you're either doing a 15, 20-minute program, 30-minute workout or something like that, or, if weightlifting's your thing, an hour workout, whatever. But, like 2 times a week when you're kind of neat to things. 3 if it's possible, and that third one could just be, like I said, just core work. You go to the gym, maybe do a little warm-up run, and you do some core work and some jogging and stuff. So it's not super killer. And, like I said, if weightlifting's your thing and that's kind of your background, if you want to do 3 major lifts a week, you can. But be smart about where you're doing it. Doing an intense swim, maybe you work on the lower body. If you're doing an intense bike and run day, that's where you work the upper body. And then make sure you get a recovery day in there. Especially when you first integrate it, you're going to be sore. So that first week, the intense workouts later on in the week, you may even be recovered for. But usually, when you start doing that strength training, you're really going to feel it for 2 or 3 days afterwards, especially if you go pretty hard. I like to see people kind of ease into the strength routines, but if you haven't been doing it on a consistent basis. So just make sure you plan out right. Do it early in the off season, early in the preseason, so that way you know what to expect. And then as you're doing it on a more consistent basis, you're not as sore, but you will be tired. You'll need that recovery. So Now in the off season, especially, is what I tell people. It's like time to get in there, time to do some functional strength. All my programs, I have them in. I have those workouts in there. I like to see athletes do them. It's not just fluff work. It's not just thrown in there for the heck of it. I want to see people out there doing the strength work, because at the end of the day, it complements your swim, your bike, and your run, and it gets all those stabilizer muscles. You know, you need to have a good core to be an arrow. You need to have a good core to control your leg movements when you're running. You need to have a good core to be able to have that body position in the water. So if you don't have that strength built up, you're doing all these other things with a kind of a not ideal core situation, and that's where other injuries can kind of occur because you're compensating, not using the muscles that you should be to control those movements. So strength is not throwaway. Off season, feel free to go nuts. You know, go out and get after it. Really build that strength up in the off season. You want to. You know, I would not worry about getting up or something like that and running with weight. There are plenty of strong, muscular athletes out there that can still do amazing things out there at the race. So I would not worry about bulking up 20 or 30 pounds in the off season, you know, getting too much muscle on. I don't want to get too big. Don't worry about that. Just focus on the strength training, and a lot of these movements that I recommend for athletes and programs is more lean muscle build and stuff like that, especially if you're keeping up your flexibility stuff, you're stretching, you're rolling and stuff like that. You're not going to turn into the typical meathead that everybody's thinking about at the gym with the strength training. So it's not going to get too wild and crazy. But that's just generally kind of my tip, my take on the strength training, especially in the off season, especially getting into the season and then tapering off for the races. Any other questions or anything like that, always drop me a line and I'll let you know my thoughts.